Before the arrival of the Spanish, the native population of California is thought to have been as high as 300,000, with a number of diverse nations and cultures adapted to the diverse regions of the state. The largest of these nations were the Chumash, with a population of around 10,000. California was initially colonized by the Spanish in 1769, with Mission San Diego de Alcala being built in modern San Diego. With the introduction of European disease, the native population of California fell by roughly 33%, or around 100,000. Violence was also common between Spanish and later Mexicans and the natives. Spanish Franciscan priest Junipero Serra led his missions in a violent conversion effort against the natives, with torture and murder being common. It is estimated that around 90% of those living near the Spanish missions died. Following the conquest of California from Mexico by the United States and the arrival of thousands of American settlers during the 1849 gold rush, the California government began to finance a state-run program against Native Americans living in the state. California's first governor, Peter Burnett, stated in his 1851 State of the State address, "A war of extermination will continue to be waged between the races until the Indian race becomes extinct must be expected. While we cannot anticipate this result, but with the pain of regret, the inevitable destiny of this race is beyond the power of wisdom of man to avert." In 1850, the California Act for the Government and Protection of Indians was enacted and did the opposite of what it said it did. The law enabled, quote, apprenticing or enslaving native children to Americans and punished, quote, vagrant natives by selling them into slavery if they couldn't pay their bail. Up to 27,000 Native Americans were taken into forced labor, including up to 7,000 children. Quote, "I have the honor to report to the General commanding the Department of the Pacific that I have been in this valley 15 days, carrying out my instructions to chastise these Indians, or the Indians of Owens River, that I have killed several, taken 11 prisoners, and destroyed a great many rancherias and a large quantity of seeds, worms, etc., that the Indians have gathered for food." Lieutenant Colonel George S. Evans of the 2nd Cavalry California Volunteers. Studies differ, with earlier studies placing deaths as low as 2,000, but more modern studies say as many as 100,000 Native Americans died in around 370 known massacres, along with violence committed by the Army and miners. Over the course of the genocide, several wars were fought against the natives trying to stop or escape the mass murder and enslavement. One of, if not the first known massacres, was committed in March of 1846, when an expedition by Captain John Fremont destroyed a Wintu village on the bank of the Sacramento River. Fremont's men were informed of a native camp of 1,000 preparing to attack white settlers. Fremont and his men marched upriver to find a Wintu village, of which there were several in the area. The soldiers formed a line around the village, pinning the natives against the river, and the Wintu men formed a defensive line, with women and children in the back. Fremont gave the order to give no quarter, and none was given, with riflemen approaching the village and firing volleys into it. Expedition member Thomas Breckinridge wrote on the massacre, "The settlers charged into the village, taking the warriors by surprise, and then commenced a slaughter, which is unequaled in the West. Some estimates put the death toll as high as 700, with others as low as 150. I'll let you guess what it was closer to. While violence was perpetrated against Native Americans in every state, The vast scale and quick nature of the decline of California's native population has led many to call it a murder of thousands of Native Americans and destruction of multiple cultures by the Californian government and its settlers from 1846 to 1873, a genocide. However, this topic is still up for debate. I will leave you with a story of Ishi, whose real name was unknown, but means man in the Yana language. He was the last known member of the Yahi native group, with most of the rest of his group, including most of his family, being killed during the genocide in 1865 during a massacre called the Three Knolls Massacre. It is estimated that 60 of Ishi's group survived the many massacres during the genocide, with others being committed in 1866, 67, and 71. Prior to the 1849 gold rush, Ishi's group, the Yahi, numbered 404 in California, while the larger Yana population numbered 2,997. In 1908, a group of surveyors came across a camp inhabited by Ishi, his uncle, mother, and younger sister. While the other three fled, Ishi's mother hid in the blankets to avoid detection, as she was too sick to flee. The surveyors ransacked the camp and left. Ishi returned, but his uncle and sister never did. His mother died soon after. Ishi spent 3 years alone until emerging from the woods 2 miles from Oroville, California in 1911. At 50 years old, Ishi was taken in by UC Berkeley anthropologists who studied him and hired him as a janitor. Ishi's real name is unknown, as it is Yahi custom to not say your name until you were introduced. Therefore, he was given the name Ishi, which means man in the Yana language. Ishi died at the University of California, San Francisco's medical wing in 1916 of tuberculosis. With his death, the Yahi were declared extinct, one of many cultures to fall prey to the genocide. However, Ishi's work with the anthropologists helped to preserve the Yana language for study by modern generations. Thanks for watching.